My mom told me not to talk to strangers on the internet, but I'm glad I didn't listen. We are the CertifiedNoonas, your sisters in the love of Asian entertainment.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
I'm Jessie.
I'm Natalia.
And I'm Sky.
And today, we are venturing into the world of numbers. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. But, like, not in, like, usually not in a mathematical way, though later on, complex equations may be involved to figure out certain things. But what we're actually talking about is today, we are doing another pseudo-genre jar. It's like the genre jar, except that we didn't let Twitter pick. And it's not actually a genre. But it's
very specific.
It's an extremely specific genre that's not quite a genre, more a naming convention than anything else. And that is, what are our favorite dramas with numbers in the name? Yes, that's right. It's the numbers episode. And then later on, we'll be talking about K-pop groups with numbers in their names and how sometimes we have no idea how to pronounce their names. And we're going to, explore the world of finally solving the mystery of how you pronounce these groups' names. This is a real 2-for-1 situation.
We're going on a journey, really. It's
real journey. So you're getting it both today. You're getting the dramas, you're getting the music. It's together in one beautiful Sunday of just deliciousness, you know? So, all right. Now we got to talk about numbered dramas. There are actually more than you would think, but when I first sat down to think about them, I came up with one, and then I had to go through my drama list and was like, oh, there's like a billion. I don't know why I'm so worried about this. So,
I know, when you're first thinking of it, it's like, it's just all sequels. Oh, well, like this too. No, there's ones with actual numbers in the title.
And speaking of those, Amanda, you begin. Give us one.
All right.
Give us one that you enjoy.
All right. I'm going to start out with my most rewatched one. So, is it my highest recommendation? Maybe not. Is it high quality? Maybe not.
Oh, I already know where you're going with this. I already know which one this is. Oh boy.
Do I love this drama? Have I rewatched it like 8, 9, 10 times? Yes, I have. And that would be the original Two Moons Thai drama. Not to be mistaken for Two Moons 2, which is a complete recast and retelling of essentially the same story.
And it arguably slightly better in many ways.
Is Two Moons 2 like the number 2 moons number 2?
Yes.
Or is it okay? I didn't know if it was like funny and they're like Two Moons TOO.
No. It's two
moons.
Yeah. Digit 2 moons, digit 2. It's a number 2 sandwich.
Yeah.
No.
Which it's Two Moons 2 you can watch if you haven't watched Two Moons because it's not a sequel. Two Moons I think is it 10, 12 episodes? And they tell all of that story, but in the first maybe 4 or 5 episodes of the second one, and then they tell more story, which is kind of nice.
Which I just need to point out, if you're doing the math in your head, think of perhaps how drawn out this if they could condense it very easily into 4 episodes.
I mean, I'll put it this way. When I rewatched this show, when I have rewatched it the 8, 9, 10 times that I've rewatched it, I usually rewatch the first episode and then skip ahead to 6, 7.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a road trip and they go on a school trip thing. And so I skip to that and then I watch
there's a lot of
from there forward. And
there's a lot of dance practice. There's a lot of dance practice. There's also this song that they sang
which also has numbers in it.
It does. That once you hear it, it lives with you forever.
Yeah. Ricky likes to just post pictures of it, like just a picture or a GIF on the timeline, just to piss people off so that they get the song in their head, stuck in their head just from seeing the picture.
That's
you I can hear this GIF.
It is a pretty feel-good show, though. I will give it this. It does make you feel good while you're watching it.
It's cute. It's sweet. It's the story of a boy who had a crush on another boy since high school, and he goes to the same university, and the older boy is kind of mean to him, but like they get past that pretty fast. But like it turns out the other boy had a crush on him all through high school too, but they just never connected, and now it's time to connect. It's nice. It's cute and sweet, and if you just want cute and sweet, it's a cute, sweet little thing to watch. It's fun. And yeah, you can kind of not pay attention through large sections of it because you probably don't need to learn the dance with the simplest choreography ever that takes them literally months to learn. And you're like, why? Like days. They spend an entire day and it's like nothing. And you're like, why did it take you Anyway, 2 Moons. It's cute. I like it.
It's a really cute show. Personally, I recommend 2 Moons 2. I find the chemistry between the cast is a bit better in 2 Moons 2.
When I watched the second one, and when I think of it, like if I read fanfics, 2 Moons fanfics now, my brain inserts my favorite actors from both versions. So like I have like a mixed cast going on in my fan stories. So how about you, Jessie? What do you got?
So my pick is definitely not cute or funny. It's a little or a lot mellow. I'm picking a J-drama that has been out for a very long time. It came out in 2002, and that's 100 Million Stars Falling from the Sky.
So
good.
You might know because Korea just had a remake of it called The Smile Has Left Your Eyes, but that doesn't have a number, and I like the J-drama version better, so that's why I picked the J-drama version. If you haven't seen it, well, there's not a lot I can say without like really spoiling things, but like it's been out for a while, and so has the other one. And I think everybody at this point should like have already figured out that the story is literally Romeo and Juliet just retold, and it's about a cop who is investigating this suicide that kind of looks a little fishy, and it leads him to this guy who is like a chef or a chef in training or something like that. And like he figures out there's all these kind of like weird connections with like the person who died and just all these other things. And the cop's sister is tied to this guy too, because she actually meets him because he ends up dating her best friend. And it goes on a very, very heavy, dark journey. The show is very, like, especially the Japanese version is very dark. I mean, I'm not to say that the K-drama version isn't dark, because it is, but the Japanese drama actually kind of explores a lot more into the characters a little bit more. I feel like the Japanese drama has the main male lead more gray / verging on, you could tell he's not a good person and a very manipulative person. However, the K-drama version, it is like very lightly touches the gray area, but like for the most part, you kind of start to just like really just think he's just like the bad boy kind of trope. I think it's really good and worth a watch if you can get a hold of it. It is obviously an older drama, but I have faith that you will find it somewhere. But yeah, it's definitely, if you're not into like heavier dramas, you're not into crime dramas and death and darkness and manipulation, you're not gonna like it. But I think it does some interesting like work with the characters and trying to figure out what's going on and like what's happening. And there were some twists and turns that you don't expect on it. And there's a lot more that kind of like goes into the relationship of the cop versus the male lead versus his sister, the female lead, and just things happen kind of in that. And I also feel like if you're like trying to not go so closely to Romeo and Juliet, the Japanese drama doesn't feel like it has to find all the characters in Romeo and Juliet, while the K-drama brought in new characters, which is good because we talked about it last week about remakes and stuff and having a little bit different. But the K-drama really wanted every single character of Romeo and Juliet to be presented, and the Japanese version kind of didn't feel that way, which is kind of nice because it kind of allowed the story to be a little bit more tighter and there wasn't extra characters that were like there talking. It's good.
Recently, I don't remember where it was, but there was a list of heartwarming dramas.
Oh yes.
Oh my god.
And the smile has left your eyes, the K-drama version. It was on there, and Jesse's like, heck no.
Come and hug me, and I'm like, okay, come and hug me. Yes, there are little like pieces of heartwarmingness. I get that. But it is largely a story where almost every single episode you see the murder of her parents, which is not a spoiler. It's like the first thing you see on that drama. Do not go to either of those dramas for heartwarming and the J drama. There's no, especially with like,
oh god,
the smile has left your eyes. There's not like even parts where I'm like thinking about like heartwarming. I can see the moments where they're like talking about heartwarming for come and hug me. I can't see that in The Smile Has Left Your Eyes. I love them. I thought they were great, and I will say that the K-drama version is really great. It's a great retelling. I just prefer the kind of tighter story and like some of the character aspects are a little bit, but like that does not mean that I didn't thoroughly enjoy watching it. And I like watched them both like basically at the same time. I can't remember how I did it. It was like halfway through The Smile Has Left Your Eyes, and then I binged the J-drama and went back to the K-drama. I binged the J-drama in like a day and a half, which is 45 minutes, 10 episodes. You can do it, but like, yeah, if you're not into like those dark kind of points, then stay away from it. But like if that's something like you're kind of into, I would definitely suggest seeking it out.
This sort of the heartwarming list kind of reminds me of I was on Netflix the other day, and they had like a new, they have like the random, like categories that come up, and one was new to K-dramas, and the first two that they recommended for if you're new to K-dramas was My Mister and and Misang. And I was sitting there like,
wow.
Girl, no.
I mean,
the algorithm
are
has
they great?
failed you. Yes, they're amazing. Are they what I would suggest?
Especially now, maybe that's not like the dramas you want to like consume like at this point in the time.
Some like the feel good dramas out there, like, oh boy, I was just laughing. I was like, no.
If you start with Miss Sang and My Mister, it's really like you're going down from there. Those are two really good dramas, I know, and like everything after, not everything, obviously there's other really good dramas too, but like those are two top tier dramas, and a lot of what's on Netflix is mid or bottom tier dramas. So
they're not even like that. They're like in the category, in the genre that like is not gonna be the first picked for any of like the major subbers to sub, because rom-coms are what drive most of the people and like fun stuff does. So like you're gonna very severely limit yourself like really quickly.
That said, you totally should watch those two dramas because they're
great. They are very good dramas.
Maybe don't start there.
Yeah.
But if you've never watched a K-drama in your life, I
don't know. I wouldn't suggest that.
No, I'd go with something a little lighter, a little more fun,
Was it K-Bay, I think last week, they had a guest on who has only watched one K-drama before, and they're doing Legend of the Blue Sea right now. The only K-drama he's ever watched is Itaewon Class. So he's like, what is going on here? Like, they're making noises when they have, like, there's special effects when they have facial expressions, and there's, like, this isn't what I was expecting, and they're like, this is pretty typical.
The norm.
I think other one's not so typical that they haven't watched it, so they're like, I don't know, but we're not surprised by any of these things in Legend of the Blue Sea that you seem to be surprised by.
So, for me, I know what y'all are thinking. I go on about the drama Five Children all the time. So you would think that that would be my pick, but I'm going to completely confuse all y'all and take it in a completely opposite direction with the free to watch on YouTube series 3 Will Be Free. Now, this is a spicy little number of a show. It's from Thailand. So the plot is kind of fucked up. Okay, there's a male stripper. You can already tell by this first sentence this is from Thailand. There is a male stripper who is having an affair with the wife of a gangster. Okay. Now, the gangster's son is secretly gay. Meanwhile, the manager, the female manager of the strip club, is like kind of friends with the two of them. And accidentally, okay, so that this all happens in like the first episode, so I'm really not giving too much away. The gangster then finds out that his wife is having an affair with this male stripper and is like, I'm going to send my 2 best dudes to take him out. One of the 2 best dudes is sort of dating this trans woman who's a waitress who hates her job, and they have this beautiful plan to like retire from the life of crime and like go live in a beautiful little, you know, home in the country. You know exactly where this is going, of course. As soon as you're like, we're going to leave this horrible life and go live in a beautiful... Anyway, so he goes to kill this male stripper at the club. A fight ensues. He drops his gun. The female manager shoots him and he dies. And the witness was the son of the gangster that they don't know is the son of the gangster. So all 3 of them are like, oh shit, we got to go on the run because, like, we just murdered a dude, kind of. Though it was in self-defense, we know that he works for this gangster, so we got to go. But then, of course, the gangster is like, those assholes kidnapped my son. The trans woman meets up with, like, the guy's partner and is like, we're going to track down those people who murdered your boyfriend, and we're going to... Anyway, it all goes to hell. It's a delightful romp, surprisingly, from what I've just told you. It's actually funnier than it would seem. And it actually gets surprisingly spicy for the channel that it's from, because it was made by GMMTV, which usually makes more
teenage fare.
Feel good, innocent, more, you know, chaste, shall we say. Like, they'll mention sex but never show it, that sort of thing. Nah, that was gone with this one. They're like, this is a late night GMMTV. But it is free on YouTube, and it is really well done, and it's beautifully filmed, and the acting is really good, and it's one of those shows where you're like, they're kind of fun to watch because you sort of know, like, oh, every time they think that they're about to get out of trouble, they're gonna find themselves in like deeper trouble because of something stupid they did like 3 episodes previously. So it has like that vibe to the whole thing, and it's really enjoyable, and I recommend it.
She's making funny faces.
No, you can't really ever tell. Like, Natalia will be like, it's enjoyable and it's great, and then she makes a face like it's not enjoyable, and it's like the most worth experience.
So when I'm watching shows like this, like, and I'm watching Thai shows, my husband will be like lying next to me, sort of like half watching. So he's come to joke that these shows I watch are showing the bisexual wonderland that is Thailand, which of course is not fully the truth, obviously. Like, we all wish that the world was just a happy gender doesn't matter when it comes to love situation, and sort of, and that idealism is displayed in many Thai shows, even though it doesn't actually reflect the reality of literally anywhere on Earth. We all just wish it did, right? But this one has that same vibe, shall we say. But it also has Jenny in it, and if you watch GMMTV, you know Jenny, and she is
a delight.
Oh, she's the best. She's the best. She's the best. It also has Singto in it, and he's also and has Joss Ware in it. I'm always really bad at describing shows because I feel like I describe them really badly. It's better than I'm making it sound, I swear. Sky, take it away. Take it away.
So my pick is Meet Me at 10:06. So this is a Taiwanese show, and I am going to do a very broad stroke when I say this. Some Taiwanese shows do have the pitfall of sometimes the female leads are kind of childlike as far as they jump to conclusions very quickly. More than K-dramas in general, it feels like sometimes. I don't know. For instance, she's a journalist. So the female lead is a journalist. So you'd kind of expect that she's seen the world a little bit as far as being able to handle some stuff. But it kind of has the pitfall of she doesn't quite act like a journalist a lot of the time. But you just kind of have to deal with it because that's a Taiwanese show for you sometimes. The reveal for this show happens way, way late, which is great. I prefer that for shows that have a lot of mystery in it. Like you have no idea what's going on most of the time. But essentially, it's a time travel show. At 10:06 at night, their realities converge for I think it was an hour or so. Their apartments would merge into one, which would be nice and awkward. So you have the whole cohabitation, but only for a short period of time. So that's a thing. Also, the male lead, the character is pretty much a jerky lawyer, very smug and all that. And he eventually does change, but it takes a long time. And they hate each other's guts for a long time, which is nice because if someone is a jerk, it would actually take them a long time to fix that. So it actually felt realistic to me as far as if someone does change from that, it takes a fair bit of effort. There's a murder mystery. That's actually a huge part of why they even work together to figure it out. So they're pretty much begrudging partners trying to figure out the crime for quite a while, which is nice. So then it eventually turns into romance later on. But it has Lego Lee in it, which is anytime he does something, I try to watch it. So I find him really enjoyable. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but to me, there's a little bit of murder mystery in it. It kind of has everything. And it definitely has enemies to lovers, but they're kind of more enemies than anything else. And it's not cutesy fighting. No. They really hate each other for a long time. To where I really did think that would change earlier in the show, but nope. They hate each other for a long time. So, I don't know. There was some really good twists and turns near the end that I wasn't expecting, especially from that kind of show. And I do think that some people probably do tire of the show a little bit before they get to those twists and turns, which I understand. But I would encourage, if anyone does start it, to maybe know that things might not be exactly as they seem later on. So I was trying to look up, because I can't quite remember if the shared apartment number was also 1006.
I want to say yes. I feel like it was.
I was trying to find a picture to back up that information, but I couldn't find it anywhere. So it kind of had that meaning, we're meeting at the apartment number, but then also the actual time that their realities would converge. And I think the separation was 2 years between their realities, if I remember right. It's from back in 2018, so it wasn't that long ago, but I really liked it. So I will say one thing about her character, though she does seem very childlike at times, but she also, and I don't remember exactly what type of martial arts, but she was a champion martial artist of some sort. So she does kick his tail a few different times. So even though she's kind of dumb in some respects, she also does handle herself pretty well with him. So I appreciated that side of her character. We gonna go another round, or anybody have any others they want to mention?
We can do another round if you want.
I do have another one I would like to mention, as a matter of fact.
What do you got, Amanda?
All right, I'm gonna stick with cute and fun, and I'm gonna head to Korea. We're gonna do 20th Century Boy and Girl. It's story of a famous actress who lives in her own apartment, but it's her own apartment is the floor above her parents' apartment, and they've built in basically a Heidi stairs from her apartment into her parents' apartment. So Well, it's like she lives alone. She doesn't. She lives with her parents. They feed her. They hang like she just has a really nice big like suite above in her parents' house. But she's very innocent and she's never dated and she's like the nation's girlfriend kind of thing. And she has two best friends. They've all been best friends since high school, and there's like the friendship between these three is so good. And you sort of learn by the end of the first episode that there was also a boy. So when they were in high school, there was four of them. There was these three girls plus this one boy that the four of them were together all the time doing stuff. They rode the same like bus to school or whatever, and they were all best friends. And she goes overseas, I think to China, to do like a variety show kind of thing. She's on the plane on her way back. She loses her phone or it gets broke or something. And so on the plane on the way back, when she's completely out of touch, a sex tape drops. And everybody believes it to be her. Like there's a mole or something that everybody knows is hers. And she's going, well, like, I know it's not me because I've never had sex. So like, I'm pretty sure I'm not in the sex tape.
Like,
I've never.
I'm going to be honest. There's one large problem with the sex tape theory.
And that's part of the thing is that, and she's huge, right? Like she has all the promotions and all the endorsements and everything. And I think when she's away doing this variety show, that's one of the things they talk about. Or have you really never dated? No, I've never had time to date. So now she's the liar, right? Not only is she gross because she has a sex tape, and I think the guy is married in the tape and stuff. So like she's having sex with married men, and she's a big fat liar, and she loses all of her endorsements and all this stuff. You know how it works in Dramaland. And she gets back to the airport, still not in touch with anybody because, she has no idea. She doesn't have her phone. And she comes out and there's tons of people there. And she's like, why? Like, I'm used to there being some paparazzi, but this seems excessive even for me. And they start asking her, is the video you? Is it video you? And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then somebody shows her the video or something and she's like panics and everything. Well, this boy from high school was also on the plane coming back to Korea. He's been living in China for 3 years or something. He's come back. He sees her and he just grabs her hand and, covers her from people and drags her out through the crowd until he sees her, manager is there to pick her up or whatever and shoves her in the car. And like, people are like, who's that guy? Is that somebody else she's sleeping with? And all this stuff. But like, no, it's the guy. And they were neighbors and he lived in the apartment downstairs from her parents when he was a kid. And his parents have died. So he's renovated the apartment and moved back into the apartment downstairs. So it's like semi-cohabitation because her parents are like, oh, I promised your mom I would look after you, so you should come have dinner every day. And, hijinks ensue, and it's adorable. It's really cute. Like, the stuff with her and her friends is super adorable. There is a love triangle, but, like, it never gets bad. It never gets weird. It was not popular when it aired, and it actually got its run cut. So it does not have, I think it's got, like, 30 of the half-hour episodes instead of 32 or something because it wasn't that popular, but I really, really enjoyed it.
So my next drama is, again, a very heavy and not dark in the sense of what 100 Million Stars Falling from the Sky was. It's heavy and sad in a completely different way. It's also another J-drama, an older J-drama as well. I had a theme going, apparently. But this is the 2005 drama called One Liter no Namida, which it like has a couple of different English names. It's like basically 1 liter of tears, essentially. It's very, I only say this just as like a representation of like what you're getting yourself into. It's a very Lifetime movie type show, but it's done very well. Like the acting's well, the story's great. And it's about a girl. It's actually about an actual true person whose name was Aya Kito. At 14 or 15, she started to experience these symptoms. They were very like off. It would be like she would all of a sudden just kind of like fall, or like she had balance issues and that sort of thing. And her mom is a nurse, and so they got her checked out, and then they figured out that she had this really rare disease, which I wrote down. So I'm going to try to pronounce it. It's called spinocerebellar ataxia, which essentially is a disease that attacks the spinal cord. And ultimately what happens is that the person loses all mobility. It's a pretty rapid disease. The show is based on the real girl's journal, because she had started to write in a journal regularly, like I guess like a year or so before things happened. And so she just kept up with her journey, or her diary. And so she kept up with writing about the symptoms that she was experiencing, and like writing about like her thoughts, because it was like when she was like just going into high school, and she was like, you know, finding guys, and she was like kind of popular because she was on like a sports team, and she was just working at her family's restaurant. And so the whole series is about the journey she starts to take from the initial diagnosis on. And it's very sad. It explores a lot with the dynamics of the family and how it affects everyone, not just her. Like, she's definitely the main character and the main focus, but like it shows how it affects like the dad, who has to be still working, and like the restaurant and that sort of thing, and who doesn't have any like medical background, and her mom, who does have a medical background, and then the sibling, and like how they like tie together, and how they have to figure out how to live with this, because it's ultimately going to kill her. I think she lived to like 25. So it's a heavy show, but I think it shows a lot of really good dynamics within the characters and how they're responding to this thing that's happening. At the end of every episode, they show pictures of her, like the real girl. They show pictures of her and her family, and they have like a little like quote from her diary. After her death, her mom collected all this stuff and kind of published it, so you can actually like read her story. But I haven't found it translated yet. Again, it's heavy, I know, but like it has like a lot of like hope, because there's a lot of like kind of acceptance, because it's something that she can't control, and eventually like everybody starts to realize this, and just kind of like trying to find the good in what you have left, and like cherishing the moments that you have left. So it'll make you cry buckets, but it's also got a really great heart to it. So it's like mellow in the non-crime murder way.
But it sounds like it's not just, hey, we're gonna make you sad just for the sake of making you sad.
Yeah, I personally don't think they like use it as a thing to make it so heightened. Like, there obviously is a little bit more of like heightened situations, like, you know, in the TV series she has a crush on a boy, and so that's like a more developed thing than it was in real life. But for the most part, it's not like they're using her story. And it seems like the family was okay with this series being produced, because I mean the pictures that they had at the end of each episode were of everyone in her life. So it would be like her with her friends, her with her sister, her with her parents. So someone was giving those pictures. If you can find it, check it out. Sorry, I give you all J-dramas.
It's okay. Like, you know, maybe one day J-dramas will be easily available.
Yeah. If you can't find it, you can actually find like a Wikipedia page and like resources about her, so you can like learn her story and stuff, and kind of learn what steps have been taken for the disease. Because it's super rare, but it definitely helped having her diary too, because she was able to like in that diary talk about things that were happening to her body that nobody else would have been able to do, like even scientists like studying the disease. So
well, I'm gonna take it to a much more happy place. I'm taking it to Taiwan with, okay, now we've all heard of History 3 Trapped and how great it is and whatever. However, before the 3, there was History 2. Now, everyone who likes the History series is like, oh, History 2, Crossing the Line, oh, so great. Yeah, it's fine.
It is.
Whatever.
It's great.
It's fine. However, for me, I prefer History 2, Right or Wrong, which is, it's only 4 episodes long. It's just like a little mini series. And the basic plot is that a divorced professor falls in love with his Manny, who is also his student, but it's not as lurid as that sounds, because when you say that, like, oh yeah, professor and the student who's also his male nanny, like, it sounds pretty bad, but I swear to you, it's not at all.
It's just cute.
Lurid. It's very sweet, very respectful. Consent is very important with the two of them. There's a cute little kid because the divorced professor has like a 5-year-old daughter who's just adorable. It's really nice. And then there's so much happening, but so little happening at the same time that like you get a lot of really cute domestic stuff, like, oh, they're cooking together in the kitchen, like, oh, they're out with the daughter, like, preparing for her sports day, like, oh, they're grocery shopping together, and you're just like, this is so nice, like, it's just so nice, and there's very little angst, so there's very little of that, like, oh, like, there is like a subplot about him, the younger guy, like, coming out, essentially, and, like, it goes badly when he's in high school, but now he's, like, in his 20s, and he's like, whatever, I'm gay, and then there's this whole thing where he's like, oh, but you're not gay, am I misreading the situation? And the dude's like, bisexual people exist, right? Like, like, I'm, like, 32, like, I know what I'm doing, like, chill out. So, like, it's really nice. It's really sweet. It makes you feel good after you watch it. And then it's the show that if I'm, like, having, like, a really bad day, it's only, like, an hour and a half in total. Like, it's like a little movie. And if I'm having a bad day, I go to Viki. It's fully subbed, unlike many things on Viki. I just look it up. I watch it, and I'm like, it is Taiwanese, so, like many Taiwanese shows, the production value occasionally leaves a bit to be desired, but it's not terrible. It's pretty good. Mind you, like, then you get to, like, History 3, which had, like, really good production values, but the only reason they did was because History 2 was so popular that they could make another one. So
I mean, if you go all the way back to History 1, the production on
rough.
that one is
it's rough.
It's real rough.
It's real rough. So, but I just find it has like a nice balance of like heart and condensed plot and feel good vibes. And you're like, oh, they're such a beautiful family. Like, oh, they're so in love. So like you feel good after watching it. And Sky, what of you? Do you have a second one?
My pick is King Two Hearts.
Ah, yes.
Because it was one of the first K-dramas that I watched. And it was my first exposure to, well, I mean, it's South Korean media. So, I mean, South Korean media about North Korea. I didn't know anything about North Korea when I watched it. So, King Two Hearts, it's a fictional monarchy in modern South Korea, like The Last Monarch, but way not like that at the same time. The reason that I remember I got so hooked on this drama because Lee Seung-gi, he plays a prince for quite a bit of it, and his character is a jerk. He is annoying, and you want him to not exist for a long time. So his brother, the king, like, knew that he was pretty much a mess, and so sent him on this, competition thing with that involved South Korean soldiers and North Korean soldiers having to do things together, and I really enjoyed that part of the drama a lot because there's a lot of, you could call it a found family, kind of, but to me it's more of just teamwork stuff, and then them figuring out that North or South, they're both human, you know, like similarities between them, and you know, like you'll see one of the North Korean soldiers watching Girls' Generation music video stuff. So I liked that aspect of it. I do wish during that time period in the drama that Lee Seung-gi's character wasn't such a jerk, because he was the entire time during that part. Mm-hmm. But I really enjoyed, so the female lead is Ha Ji-won, and she plays a North Korean soldier, and she kicks tail really, really well, and so it was really enjoyable to watch that. And she did pretty decently with the North Korean accent, so I've heard. I wouldn't know, obviously. But her character is very innocent, ultimately, when it comes to dating or men or any of that. And Lee Seung-gi's character definitely takes advantage of that, and that's really difficult to watch it sometimes. But as time goes on, he eventually becomes the king, and he definitely doesn't immediately become a good person. It's, man, I'm picking a lot of stuff with crappy dudes in it that turn okay.
That might be
it's almost like society is trying to brainwash women into thinking that they should pick douchey dudes because they can help
fix them. Yeah. So definitely in King Two Hearts, she tries to fix him, and it does not work.
No, he's just a dick.
He eventually has to fix himself. Imagine that. Like, grow up a little bit. I won't get into all the logistics of that, but there's also like this villain that is very villainy, like to where he's like cackling type villain. And then Jo Jong-suk is in it, and he's really good. The secondary couple is really good. That's all I'm going to say about that. And I don't know. To me, it's not soapy.
No.
Almost gets there because of just, you know, when you're dealing with monarchy stuff, so that means you're dealing with, you know, the Dowager Queen. And so just, there's so many characters, and because it's a monarchy, I don't know, there's a lot of political stuff. Since it was one of my first K-dramas, it really, what drew me into it was the storytelling, and it was very different from anything else I had seen in Western media before. So that's why I really enjoyed it. And then is my first exposure to like Lee Seung-gi, and I was like, cool, he's really good. By the end of the show, you don't want to murder him, so that's a good thing, I think. At the time, I think it was a pretty popular show. I think it was.
Feel like yes. I mean, people still talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
There's another title for it, but I think it was just something like the king with two hearts, blah blah blah. He does not have two hearts. He's not like Dr. Don't be worried about any.
Yeah, it's not just weird like subplot.
They never explain the two hearts thing. I think it's essentially he grows up eventually. Like
maybe his heart is cold before and then it's warm. That's the heart, two hearts.
I would not recommend it if you want smooth sailing with the romantic aspect of the show. Like, if the romance of the show is the only thing you're there for, I would not necessarily recommend it, because there's a lot of push-pull, there's a lot of manipulation. It's not charming in that aspect most of the time. So, to me, there was a lot of other parts of the show that were really good that kept me watching. And then by the end, you're like, okay, I'm okay with the romance. Like, you kind of accept it and move on. But sorry, I keep picking things with jerky dudes.
It's okay. Like we like what we like. That's okay. Don't worry.
Nothing I even liked, gosh.
There are so many K-pop bands with numbers in their names, or their names are just numbers. Some of them are easy to figure out how to say it, like 17 or Day 6, like 2 p.m., 2 a.m. You can pretty much figure those out. That's how you say it. However, some of them take a more confusing route to figure out how the hell you're supposed to say their names Is it AB6? Is it AB6? I hope it's not AB6 because if it was, that's very close to abscess, and I don't like that.
Well, also, I mean, like, I'm sorry, that group is very, very tiny. Yeah. That's always when they were on, like, the music stages. I'm like, I don't believe any of these kids actually have abs, and there's not 6 of them here. So what's going on?
Like, that's the other thing is when they, like, you know, it's like AB6. Is this, like, because they have 6-packs? Are there 6 guys in the group? No, they're like, wait, are there? I don't. There's phone numbers.
There's 5 dudes.
Didn't they get rid of a member?
Yeah, they did.
Maybe. Yeah, so okay. I'm looking into this. Yep. So the AB it stands for absolute, while the 6 stands for 5 members plus 1 fandom. They're pulling a 17 on us with this one. My search did not actually tell me how to pronounce it, but you know it.
One of the ones that I think Wiki or something said it was AB6.
And I'm pretty positive right now they're only at currently 4 members.
I think there's only 4. So they're gonna have to come up with another
mathematical equation.
Plus another equation. Plus the fandom, plus the music. Or something.
Yeah. I like their music. I think that they're great.
I like them.
I like Daewee. He's my fave. I love him. His energy speaks to me on a personal level.
So many groups that have numbers in their name based on how many members there are. Like SF9.
Got 7.
9, right? But there's so many groups that have names like that lose a member, and so then the number isn't right. That, like, you'd think they'd have figured this out by now and, like, maybe stopped doing it. Like, just stop.
It has a real optimism to it, really.
Yeah.
So Got 7, I think, is one of the bigger number groups, and it was the first group that my husband learned the name of, because he asked, "Oh, what song are you listening to?" And I forget which song. This was many years ago. It was probably like Girls or something, like just, you know, one of their early stuff. And I was like, "Oh, it's by Got 7." And he was like, "Oh, why are they called Got 7?" And I was like, "Because they've got 7 members." And then he looked at me and he was like, "No." No. He's like, "No, that's not why." I'm like, "Yes. Yes, that is why, sir." And he was like, I can't believe, no. I'm like, that's why they're called that.
I just want to come in. It is AB6.
AB6.
Yeah.
Okay. I also like that with AB6, they have the number 6 followed by IX.
Yeah.
Unnecessary, but thank you for that.
Yeah. So we have the one, it's D, the number 1, CE. So.
Dice?
I would go with Dice, but.
Oh, no.
Sure.
I know what it is.
I just looked it up. It's not what you'd think.
No.
See, Dice would make sense.
Dice makes sense, especially when you look at it, too. It, like, works when you read it. It looks fine.
And it actually does make sense when you see how it's supposed to be pronounced, but at the same time, you're like, this is really stupid. Go.
It is D-once.
D-once.
D-E.
No, D1 and CE. So it actually does make sense technically.
Technically.
Oh, I was going to mention, I kind of have a vague theory on the use of numbers in a lot of these groups. I wonder, especially, let's say they're a pre-debut or they just debuted and they did have, let's say, 5 members or whatever, and that was in their name, and then it changed. I think it bothers them probably a little less since they speak Korean and the number is in English quite often with a lot of these names.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, definitely if you read it, it's still a number, so they could, I don't know, you can tell if they verbalize it, if it's in English with their name, that it still might not bother them quite as much as if it was in Korean. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying with that? Like,
but like I also feel like if you actually know, like you're in this group that you know for a fact that the number in your name is because of the members, and then you debut with the less amount of members, I don't think I could ever not look at that, even if it's in a different language, and not go, hey, remember our training days with that one person that's not here? Like, especially if you're the one person in the group that, like, that was your, like, friend.
Your buddy.
Like, your buddy, and you're like, oh, they never made it. They still have to, like, account for them, like, a lot. Like, they have to explain things. Like, 17 still has to explain why it's 17. Like, they don't get out of it.
Yeah.
Can you guys, because I don't remember, I can never remember why NCT 127 is
It's because it's the latitude or the longitude of Seoul.
Oh. That's just why I forget a lot.
And it's like, okay, it's weird, but like also you're like, okay, I get it. Like,
right.
I get what you had a goal in mind that wasn't gonna change because, you know.
Yeah.
It'd be like,
I mean,
it'd
they
be like
also
doing
plan
like
to have 127 members, like, you know.
I think that is their ultimate goal, though. So
yeah, it's like kind of like if you are a group and you had like an area code in your name, it's not gonna change. Like if a member leaves, it's still gonna
D1's. It's a 1. There's obviously more than one.
Yeah, so it's like fine. You get into like problems with some of the groups. Like,
here's an example that we recently know now how to say it, but 3, so the way it is spelled is the number 3 and then a Y and then an E. That's the whole name. So the way you say it is third eye. So they wanted you to really think hard about their tiny name standing for.
In this one, there are 3 girls in this group too.
Yes, definitely. There's 3 girls.
But man, when that first came out, it was like, is it I? Is it Thry? Is it what are we doing here?
Or like, because it could be like, you know, interesting. Could be like 3YE and like
that's what's
short enough to be like.
I was like 3YE, cool.
It works with their like, because they're very like, you know, like a little bit more like hip hop and like a little bit harder. So you're like, yeah, okay, I get it. No.
Third eye. So that's an example of a tiny name that they wanted you to use that tiny name and expand it out, make the 3 into third, and then also use it for the E and the I. Like, they wanted you to work pretty hard.
There's a lot. They want you to work for it. Yep.
Why can't they just make it easy, like, to anyone? Right?
Well, see, it's not like easy because like technically like it's 21. So that's why it makes it harder, because then you're like, okay, it's to anyone, but that's not what like everybody says. It's 21. Now granted, you could say both and be fine, but like for the most part, someone's going to say 21 to you and then you're going to be like, I don't know who that is. Especially because if someone was saying to anyone, you would never in your head think that it was actually spelled the way it is too. You know, it's not like in your head when someone says their group is called To Anyone, you'll just assume it's like TO anyone instead of the number 2, the letter N, the letter E.
This one is taking you on a journey, okay? This was a group from the early 2000s. Their name is spelled the number 5, TION. So
5 TION.
Yeah.
5 Fiction. Oh my goodness.
Okay, their name is pronounced Ocean because the Korean 5 is O.
Yes.
Ocean.
Also, like
it's a double language pun, guys. A dual language. I actually, you know.
And did they have 5 members?
You know, that's a really good question. They had a real revolving cast of,
okay. I'm just curious.
They currently have 4. As you can say, currently. I don't think they've been active for
quite a
while. And then they had literally a revolving cast. Like, for example, one guy left the group in 2001, then joined and left again in 2006, and then joined in 2012 and left again in 2014. So you're like, okay, calm down, buddy. So it was like, they've had a revolving cast. I do appreciate the pun though.
Yeah.
I like the
slick.
pun.
That's clever.
No, they're thinking.
I want to mention 2Z.
Mhm.
So their band, they refer to themselves kind of by two different names, essentially. So the number 2 and Z is probably the most common, but whenever they do like have a banner or a sign or something, that they usually put that as well as TU semicolon ZI, I think. So like they kind of phonetically also spell it out quite often. So I always find that interesting.
That's nice.
They also say it a lot in their songs, and it's not like that. It's confusing. There's more than 2 people in the band, just to be specific. There's more than 2.
And then there's this group, again, a sort of older one. I mean, the way it's written is 015B, but their name is, they're a duo, so there's not 5 or 15 or anything like that. There's 2 people, but it's pronounced in Korean, so other than the B. So it's like Gongil-O-B. Gongil-O-B. One of the things I thought was clever with them is that like all of their discography, all their albums have numbers in the name, which I thought was kind of interesting. They've got
They
all
leaned
these,
into that number.
Yeah, like second episode, third wave, fourth movement, the big 5, the Sixth Sense. They numbered all their albums too. I'm curious. I can't find it on like Wikipedia or anything. So, but like I'm curious what the name means or what it stands for or where that came from.
Now to spin off of that, I have to say there was a K-pop group called Alpha Bat. Do you guys know of this K-pop group?
Yes.
And they leaned hard into like the alphabet side of things, which is like even with some of their songs and stuff. All of their members had Greek alphabet names. Like they were serious about their concept with the alphabet.
Wow.
4 minute, which is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Like you can definitely see when you read it's what you expect. There's a number 4 and then minute. There's not 4 members in the group, and there never has been. There's 5 members in the group. One of the like downfalls of having this name is that it actually has a meaning behind it, but like everybody just kind of like always forgot about one member constantly because it had 4 in the, the title. The concept behind their name is that they were supposed to like draw you in under 4 minutes. So all their songs.
They went too high
4
concept with it. Now, there's a subunit, a Stray Kids subunit that has possibly my favorite number in the name pun, and that is Sriracha. A play on the word Sriracha, because they're raps are fire, and there's 3 of them. I just think that name is hilarious. That, of course, has Bang Chan, Changbin, and Jisung in it. Those are the members of Sriracha.
The one that I was curious about was JBJ95. I was like, well, where did they get that from? But they're like, I don't know if it's a subunit or like if JBJ is not together anymore and it's just these 2 kids, but like they were in JBJ and they're the 95 line. So they're the 95 line of JBJ. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Like I cool, 95, got it.
I prefer subunits making names. I think it's cute and fun.
I like that.
I kind of get bummed out, like Moonbin and Sanha for Astro, like they're subunits. Like that's just their names. Like okay, we tried really hard with that. Like, yay, whatever.
Like in this day and age, when people are constantly coming up with like couples names and stuff, and you're like, come on, like I bet
just
ask
the fans. Yeah, like, the fans could probably come up with a unit name pretty easily.
I did look up one also that was called one. Well, it looks like 14U, but it is just one for you. Like, here's one for you. Here's a song for you, kind of thing. There's only 12 members. But I wonder, again, if it was originally there was going to be 14 kind of scenario, because there is, or is there 15 of them? I think there might be 15 of them. Yeah, there's 15. So they got 14 in their title, but there's 15 of them.
One that always like throws me off is IZ*ONE. It's a girl group.
Yeah.
I always want to say is how I always want to say it.
That's an asterisk. Like, you would think that would be how it would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's IZ*ONE.
Oh, it's Eyes One? I thought it was iZone.
iZone. That's what I always thought too.
No, and it says specifically they put the asterisk there so it's not zone.
And also, Uptension is another one.
Yeah, Uptension.
Definitely the first time I saw Uptension, I was like, that was a choice that they made.
Well, they say they have 10 members, so let's hope that remains the case for these beautiful boys.
Uptension, like, that's not really a word.
No.
That's the thing, like, that's not a word.
And also they're you know how like fandoms will have like they'll have their colors. Theirs are just 3 different shades of yellow, like a yellow gradient, my dudes.
So when we said we were going to talk about number K-pop groups, I was like, at first, it's not that I couldn't think of any, but then as I started thinking, it was like, 2 of my alts essentially these days are. I didn't even think that hard about it.
2 of my alts have numbers in it, so 2 p.m. and day 6. 2 p.m. is just referencing an actual false thing, but like whatever. It's the hottest part of the day, which is it's actually not 2 p.m., so I don't know. and then day 6, which sadly was named because of how many members they had, which is not 6 anymore. So.
And do they explain it differently now?
Yeah, it's the 5 members, and then the 6 is my day, and then 7 is the rest day. Like they make it as like a day thing.
Oh, yeah.
They worked on it. I mean, granted, the 6th member left early on, but you still have like an album with him on it. So
like they could have gone more biblical with it, been like, and on the 6th day, God created music.
So for me, Super 5, they have a number in their name. They're a new Trot Boy group that has MJ from Astro and Hui from Pentagon. I've talked about them before. I'm going to talk about them more. It's the way it goes.
Stand them.
Stand them. They're cute. They have a really cool music video out now. It's new. It's about spies. It's adorable.
Hot off the presses.
Yes. And then K Tiger Zero. They have a 0 in their name. Now, K Tiger Zero, they're affiliated with just K Tigers, but the K-pop group is K Tiger Zero. So the fact that I spaced on those 2 things made me kind of laugh. But those are my 2 picks. And I like 2Z a lot too. But
yeah, one of my OG groups was SS501. So that's a number. And then they did it's not technically a subunit, but they have a SS301. The 3 of the members of the original 5.
So,
but
as someone who's definitely not familiar with the group, SS501 what was the meaning behind that?
It's superstar and then 5 becoming 1 is
So whenever they made then the second name, did that meaning still kind of hold?
It holds because technically they're not disbanded. However, they're all at different companies and not at their original. So it's a little weird. Like even like when the subunit debuted, SS501 is SS501. Like that's how it's written. It's just like it's produced or pronounced SS501. But like the subunit actually had to have written out DOUBLE.
I see.
Like maybe they can't use it unless all 5 of them come back as one unit, but they're all at different companies now.
For me, I really like One Team. I'm assuming it's One Team. I'm assuming it's straightforward like that. I've never bothered looking it up because I just assumed, but
But now you wonder.
What happens when you assume? Now I'm going to look it up because I'm like, oh, after tonight, I'm like, everything is wrong. Everything I believed I knew is wrong.
That is the benefit of 17. 17 is 17.
Yeah.
Okay, Wikipedia says One Team, pronounced as One Team.
Good.
Woohoo!
Yes. Thumbs up.
There's also surprise, which is 5.
Five.
Yeah,
Surprise.
5 prize.
Which, if you follow me on Twitter, you'll know that every time one of them has a drama, I tend to tweet that. Surprise. But, like, okay, in my head, I say it, like, for pride.
Yeah.
Whenever I say it.
Yeah. I do like 5 prize.
Yeah, like
5 prize.
Well, and then what made that even more confusing is then there was another group that Fantasio did when it was legit surprise you, the letter U. There was no 5 in it, but you could tell it was like related kind of to the other. Anyway, confusing.
the one that I have still not been able to figure out is there's a Korean rapper or hip hop artist, and their name is Y number 1 and then 2 E's afterwards. And they are indie enough for English speakers that finding anything beyond, like, here's their Spotify, when you're trying to Google it, there's not much out there. So I still have no idea if it's like Y1E, one Yoni, like I don't know. I don't, understand Korean, so listening to their music, you know how sometimes they'll say their own name inside, like I don't know if I'm hearing it in there and I'm just missing it. Maybe
Right.
it's like, I don't know, what's one in Korean? Like maybe the one is pronounced in Korean. I don't know. If you know,
Yeah.
drop us a line. Let me know.
Please.
Yeah,
Please
if you're
help us
familiar with
solve
that
the
artist.
mystery. Please, the mystery needs to be solved.
As someone who I've never really preferred numbers over like words and letters, like you pretty much insert numbers, a numerical thing into like letters, and my brain short circuits a little bit. Like it's difficult for me to then know what to do with it. Like an example is Black 6. I'm assuming it's Black 6.
Yeah.
But it could be Black 6X.
I looked that one up because I was wondering, and yes, the Hangul when you read it is Black 6. Well, Black 6. But yeah, Black 6. So yeah.
That is another thing to like note about. Even if the name is in English, sometimes the way the group pronounces it, or definitely the way the Korean fans can pronounce or fan chant too, like, for instance, Astro is very much that way. They sometimes call themselves Astro, but definitely within their fan chants, they go Korean with it, obviously, because that would make it. So it's Astro. So there's like another beat that you usually wouldn't get English side. So the wondrous world of K-pop numbers within names.
They're gonna keep happening. It's
Yeah.
not stopping.
Math is the universal language after all, so.
To piggyback on my other theory, I also think the insertion of numbers, especially when they're saying it in English within their name, I think they probably think it's cooler to them because since they're Korean, like, oh, it's a cool thing to do. Whereas English side, we're like, that just makes it hard, man. Like, we don't understand. Like, they go for, like, the aesthetic of it, and we're like, ooh, we don't like that.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I mean, like, chances are that, like, the group never actually had any sort of say on the name whatsoever.
Right.
So then it's, like, it's people who think it's cool, but not actually cool.
Like, it reminds me of the whole on-tact thing. All the English-speaking Korean people were like, no, that's not a great use of that term. But whoever was in charge was like, no, it's cool. We're going to do it now. And all the English-speaking people
weird.
are like, oh, it just doesn't work that way, man. But okay.
They don't, like, think about SEO. And even if you take out, like, stuff that would be, like, for us, you search Astro, and you're going to get astrology no matter, like, what language or country you're searching it in. And so I don't understand why there's not a push to actually figure out good SEO names.
which, I mean, maybe that's Maybe that's what Astro did wrong. Maybe they should have, like, taken the S out and put a 5 in there. And then, like, we'd be able to find them. Maybe that's why they do it. They're like, you know what? We have a perfect name, but if we throw a number in here, people will find it.
It's
you
true.
Can't find surprise on Google, but if it's 5 for eyes, then
yeah.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
Just saying.
Maybe I misspoke. Maybe I didn't give them enough credit with these numbers and then.
Well, this has been another episode of the Certified Noonas. Thank you for listening. You can listen to us wherever you listen to us now, but if you want to mix it up, we are on Spotify, Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher, YouTube, and of course, all of our episodes can be found on our website, CertifiedNoonas.com, where we also have some other fun little things. Just, chilling out there on the old website. Just, for y'all. If you want to become an official sponsor of the podcast, you can go to ko-fi.com/CertifiedNoonas and become one of our certified squad. Woo, woo. That's just, we're shopping some names for the family. for the fam. That's not an official. Yeah. That's not an official name.
To officially shop, she just randomly did.
I just randomly pulled that out.
Next week will be different. Don't worry.
Feeling it out.
Who knows? Yeah. Don't worry about it.
Maybe
we love all
should
of
have
our
thrown
sponsors.
in a number.
Yes.
Yeah. Certified, but the I is a 1.
We love all of our sponsors. They keep the lights on at this podcast. So thank you for everyone who has become a sponsor. And if you want to become one, we would appreciate you too. So we hope you have a safe week. Keep wearing your masks and washing your hands. All right. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.